Ellen Waters was my great-great-grandmother, and she was born in Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. She was born enslaved. She was sold to Virginia away from her family and walked to Brandon, Mississippi. This was during the downturn of the tobacco plantation, tobacco sales. So people were making lots of money selling enslaved people. That was a very hard time, even hard to talk about it. While she was in Mississippi as an enslaved woman, she had 3 children. The oldest one was my great-great-grandmother, and my great-great-aunt Amanda and her brother Edward. By 1888, according to research, my great-great-aunt Amanda, Ellen Waters, her mother, and her younger brother were found in Washington, D.C. They had been reacquainted with her family in Washington, D.C. This took place because of an itinerant minister who saw a woman in Washington, D.C., and then another woman, younger woman, there in Mississippi, and thought there must be a connection. But also the family lore said that Ellen Waters' mother was always telling itinerant ministers who were traveling around to look and please try to find her daughter who was sold down south. So by 1888, Ellen Waters was reacquainted. She was back with her family after decades of not being with them. So there was a lot of joviality and happiness. Ellen Waters was the first one in the family to be buried at Harmony Cemetery, and she passed away at age 52 in 1894. Great-great-aunt Amanda and her brother Edward spent most of their life in Washington, D.C. My great-great-aunt Amanda married James Bailey in 1890. He worked as a porter and a doorman at Woodworth and Loper department store. And Amanda was a dressmaker, and she had a business. We actually found an advertisement, a marketing advertisement for her business. She made a lot of dresses. They pulled their money together and purchased a home at 1222 12th Street in 1898. In 1910, they had a 20-year big anniversary party, and some of the gifts they obtained at that time are still in the family. My great-great-aunt and great-great-uncle really had a strong desire to have their own children, but they did not have any children. So my great-great-aunt would write to her sister, my great-great-grandmother, who had between 14 and 16 children, and would ask if she could have one of her children, one of her babies, to raise. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. So my great-great-aunt did not give up. She then turned to her oldest grandchild, who was my grandmother. My grandmother married in the early 1900s at age 25. She was a school teacher. And after she married, she began having children, and she had 9 children. So great-great-aunt Amanda started writing to her to see if any of her children were interested in coming to live with her and her husband James in Washington, D.C. My grandmother asked her children, would any of you like to go and live with your great-aunt in Washington, D.C.? And my mother said, I'll go. So my mother moved to Washington, D.C. sometime in the early 1930s and lived with her great-great-aunt and great-great-uncle. And her aunt shared with her one day how desperately she wanted to have children. So my mother really became like a real daughter to her. They had a very, very close relationship. They were very active in church and other organizations. And my mother went there to finish high school. At that time in Mississippi, there was education for children, for black kids, up only into the 8th grade. After that, they had to pay and go to a boarding high school. My mother was attending a boarding high school when she decided to go to Washington, D.C. and join her great-aunt and great-uncle. At the time, she went and attended Armstrong High School, but she graduated and went on to college. A few years later, her sister, Alice Cannon Younger, joined her as well and finished Armstrong High School and went on and started college at Howard University. Then a niece also joined them and followed the same pattern of Armstrong High School. This started a chain migration of relatives from Mississippi to Washington, D.C. And we appreciate that because I grew up in Washington, D.C. We have, therefore, 3 ancestors who are buried at Harmony: Amanda and James, and also Ellen. And I'm so happy that this project is going on so that the headstone, I know, is being revised, updated, refinished, and it will be placed back in its rightful place in the new cemetery, and then I can again go back and visit my ancestors.